You're here. Welcome to the Masterminding Success podcast. They say if you want to be successful in business and in life, then surround yourself with successful people. So pull up a seat. The mastermind is about to begin.
Oh, hey, you made it. Glad you could join us for another episode of the Masterminding Success podcast. We're your hosts, Keith Wheeler
and Nuria Corby.
And what are we talking about today, Nuria?
Today, we're talking about how to get more customers. So that's a really good topic for anybody who's got a small business or a big business or any kind of business, really. We all want more customers.
Yeah. We always want to bring in, not only keep the people we have, keep the existing customer base, but, you always want to continue to grow, as a business.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's hard to, especially if you're used to doing things a certain way, to know how to get more, so one thing that I like to think of is, I always say, especially if you're doing things online, go where your customers are, find out where they're at, talk to the customers you already have, find out how they heard about you, what kind of things do they do, maybe social media or whatever. And find out, like I said, find out how they found you. So, hey, that's a hot, area where, people are being drawn to my business, but also, what side things do they do? First of all, as being a customer, people just love to just talk about themselves. They love to know that their thoughts and their opinions and that them in general are interesting to other people. And so if you talk to them and you get to know, the things that they do, they feel a vested interest. So then, there's a really good chance you can get more word of mouth, but also it kind of opens up the doors as to other areas that you might be able to reach out to get new customers. What do you think?
That's very true. I agree with all of that. When you know where your customers are, where they hang out, and who they are as well, that's so important, because I always have problems when people say you have to know who your customer is and you have to build a customer avatar, And I've done courses on this topic where they said, right, now make a list with who is your customer? Is it a male, a female? What are their names? Where do they work? What hobbies do they have? And I always find that so difficult, because I really don't know. Well, how would you know somebody's hobby unless you're selling stuff that is hobby related,
Right.
I find that really hard, actually, to imagine who my customer is. So I kind of always model my customer on myself. I think I would be my own customer, if that makes sense.
Right.
I don't know if that makes sense, but that's what I always think. And that way I know where my customers hang out and who they are and what they need. So I kind of get around it that way. But I know that big companies, for example, pay for that information. They have big research companies that do that for them, which is something that my daughter, for example, used to work at. But I think if you're a small business, it's not always easy. I find that part quite difficult. I don't know about you. How do you find your customers? Where are they and who are they?
Well, yeah, I agree. I think that, especially if you're doing something that you love, then there's a really good chance that you are, your own customer avatar, at least when you first start out. And just like anything in business, your business is probably going to kind of morph and change as time goes by, whether it's by choice or by outside forces that kind of make that happen. Kind of like the pandemic did. But and so you may, starting out, be the customer avatar, but you may not always be, and so I think that that's a great place to start, especially if you're just starting out a business, is, if it's something that you enjoy doing and it's something that you would be a core customer base for, then absolutely use yourself as the base of what the customer avatar could be. And then kind of the kind of places that they go to, and that's how you can get your initial customers. That's and again, just word of mouth. But eventually you're going to get a broader customer base than just you. And I mean,
Yes.
even you as a business owner, you're going to be biased isn't the right word, but you're going to be very single-minded as far as if you're looking at, what places should I promote my company at? Well, I'm only on Facebook, so I should just promote on Facebook. But you're just one person of your, one version of your customer avatar, not every version. And so, you were talking about, big companies that pay for this kind of information. They do it in something called market research, which is what I've been doing for over 20 years. And so even within my own customers, things like my newsletter, a lot of people just use their newsletter to reach out and share what's going on, and maybe put in some affiliate links if they want to make a couple extra bucks. But I about once a month, if not once every other month, I'll put in a 2 or 3 question poll in there. And in that poll, I learn new things about my customers, whether it's, sometimes if you want to do it more frequently than once a month, you can do a question of the newsletter, question of the week or whatever, depending on how frequently you do the newsletter. And it becomes kind of like a game for them. It's just one question. So yeah, they can, just answer that. But, over time, you're learning so much more about them, whether it's, what type of business they're in, where they do their social media, what's your hidden talent, just little things like that gives you insight into your customer. And once you learn that, then you can use that information to decide where to promote your business. Not necessarily just with ads, but it could just be what channels to do an interview on, if you're going to be on a YouTube channel, or what newsletters to or blog posts to be a part of, things like that.
Yeah, I think you've mentioned a few really important things there. I think the newsletter is a really good example of how to find more customers as well, because I think the newsletter is not just a newsletter, as the name suggests. It's not just about news that you're telling your customers, but it's also, or it should maybe attract new customers as well. And I do that by offering something that is free, maybe, or something that people might have an interest in, and then they subscribe to receive that. And this is how you can build an email list, for example. So I found that quite effective in doing that. You mentioned a YouTube channel. That's another way you can have a YouTube channel for your business, and that I think we should maybe do a podcast on that as well,
right?
And get people to come to to get to know about you as well. It's all about, really, the way to find more customers is to put yourself out there and to let people know that you're there, what you're doing, why they should follow you, or why they should use your company, that kind of thing, really. And there's all different ways of doing that. And every business is different. In our publishing business, for example, we do that by maybe running ads or promoting books, so there's different ways. And when I was running I'm trying to think of different businesses that I had and how I did that. I had a language school at one point, and that was word of mouth, really.
Right.
Everybody in the village knew that I was teaching English as a foreign language. I had a French teacher, I had a German teacher as well. So slowly you kind of build your customer base up. And I think word of mouth is actually the best way, because
oh yeah, absolutely,
they're the most loyal customers. And another way I did it was this was years ago, so we didn't have the internet and all of that, and I just printed flyers out and put them through the letterboxes, or put them in shops, and people could take a flyer and have a look. So there are all sorts of different ways you can gain customers, but it's all about putting yourself out there, I find. And that's the difficult part in my view, because if you're an introvert, if you're not very outgoing, that's hard. That's the hard part of it. I think you're probably similar in that respect, aren't you?
Yeah, a lot of people find it hard to believe that I'm an introvert, but yeah, I am.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's I do think that, you know, a lot of it is, you know, the best way to find new customers is to, you know, cherish the customers you have. You know, like I said, learn from them. The word of mouth is the best, because not only, like you said, are they the most passionate and the most loyal, but they're telling people that are familiar with them, and so they trust them more than they're going to trust you, who of course is bragging about their company. You know, I mean, obviously it's your company you're going to, but if my, you know, my best friend tells me that you're great, then yeah, there's a much better chance that I'm going to try you out. But you know, and when you were talking about, you know, newsletters and getting people to sign up based on you know, free giveaways and things like that, it's easy to do for us in the line of work that we do with self-publishing, because we can offer you know, a free, you know, checklist or a perma-free book, or, you know, something like that, some kind of digital product. But regardless of the business that you're in, you can do the same thing, because that digital thing that you offer could be a coupon code. You know, it doesn't have to be something that necessarily takes a lot of time to create. It just has to show, and it just has to have some kind of value to your potential customer. Going back to what I said before is, you know, if you learn more about your current customers and you know what kind of things they like, then you got a good chance of knowing what kind of things your potential, you know, new customers could like. You know, you could do a giveaway. There's so many different things you can do to get that newsletter started and get that email list. And the thing with an email list, and this is something that took me forever to learn, to get sink into my head, but that's the only way, unless you have a physical business, that's the only way digitally to make those customers yours. You know, if you only rely on other marketplaces like Amazon or whatever to kind of bring you your customers, then they're Amazon's customers that happen to be purchasing something from you, as opposed to something that is completely yours.
Absolutely.
And we could do a whole nother you know, podcast on that, but the short answer is, to, you know, the way to tell if something is your customer or not is, if that other platform went away, how would that affect your business?
Absolutely. That's such an important point. And I never understood that either before. I mean, I understood it, but I didn't know how important that was, really. You know, when I was blogging, everybody was saying you have to build up your list. And I thought, why am I building up a list? I've got my blog, you know, but now it's clearer. And I think you learn as you go along as well. And something that you said earlier, which I wrote down, you said about cherishing your existing customers. And I think that really is so important, because I don't know if this happens in the US a lot, but here in the UK, a lot of companies, they are offering special offers for new customers. You know, so for example, if you have been with a telephone company for a while, forget about you. New customers can have a special 20% off, blah, blah, blah. And that has annoyed so many people, because obviously you're not being rewarded for your loyalty. You know, it doesn't matter if you stay loyal to that brand, because their new customers are getting a better deal than you are getting when you've been a long-term customer. And I think that has changed here now, because my husband was just trying to renew his insurance, and they were having a conversation about that. And the lady said that, no, they're not offering anything new for new customers anymore, because there's been such a backlash because of that, because obviously old customers or existing customers don't feel cherished and don't feel looked after. What you said was really important, that you have to cherish your existing customers and look after them. That's, you know, you have to build and find more customers, but look after your existing customers too.
Right. Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah, we do see that a lot about the you know, where, like you're saying, especially with the telephone companies, where the you know, if you're a new customer, you get this deal, and but you know, you have to, if you're already existing customer, or you can't have been a customer in the last however long or whatever, to make sure people don't drop and then join again. Yeah, we haven't, unfortunately, we haven't come together and done that backlash that you're seeing in the UK
Yeah.
to where we actually see a change in that. So right now it's the same old, but
It will
but yeah,
come. I'm sure it'll come.
yeah, but it's it really, I agree. It really comes down to cherishing the customers that you do have. Again, even if that's just one customer, when you're first starting out, that very first customer, it's kind of like, I don't know if you guys do this, but in business, a lot of times here in the US, is if you have a physical business, especially, the owner will save that first dollar that they made.
Yes, and you frame
and
it
yeah,
and
they'll
hang it
frame
on
it,
your
right.
wall.
Right. And so, it's kind of that same thing with that first customer, that first customer, the first group of customers that you get, those are the ones that gave you a shot when nobody else would. Those are the ones that gave you a shot when nobody knew who you were. And those are the people that you really want to cherish, because they're the ones that, like I said, they're the ones that took the biggest risk. After them, the risk is less because there's more information out there. Might be reviews online for your business, or they've heard from other people. But yeah, so you definitely want to cherish those initial customers that you get, and all your customers. And because, like I said, it goes back to what we were talking about word of mouth. And while you might not get a large, depending on the type of business you have, you might not get a large influx of customers because of word of mouth. The ones you do get will be more loyal because they've heard it from other people that that they care about. And in most cases, you're in a business for the long haul. You're not here to just make a few bucks and leave. And so it really is about building it slowly. Slowly is relative to the size of your business and and what you're putting into it. But yeah, as long as you have one more customer than you did the day before, or the week before, or the month before, then you're seeing success. And actually, I would say, as long as you have the same customers as you did the day before, you're seeing success, because that means you've at least kept them happy enough to where they keep coming back.
And if you've got existing happy customers, that means hopefully your new customers will be happy too, because you've already proven that you can keep them happy, and that the product you're selling or the service that you provide is of value to them. And that's what it's all about in the end, that it has to be of some kind of value to the customer.
Yeah, you're clearly doing something right if they're still happy.
Exactly.
especially if they're happy enough to talk about you to to their friends and family. And again, that's obviously that happens a lot in a physical business like a restaurant or whatever, but that happens in the digital world too. I mean, the number of times that I will do an interview on a YouTube channel, and then people that love that YouTube channel come over and give me a check me out, and then they say how much they enjoy it. It really is because of the relationship that I built with the other YouTuber. So that's another way is not just cherishing the current existing customers, but reach out to what most people would consider competitors, your other people in the industry. And obviously not all of them, there's some that you're going to have a better relationship with than others. But then create a symbiotic relationship where you kind of help each other out by sharing each other creations, whatever you're doing, businesses, with each other's existing customer base.
Exactly. I think that is so important. And that's a little bit like we talked in a previous episode about building a community. You can build it with your customers, but you can also build it with the people who are in the same line of business. They're not necessarily your competition. I mean, sometimes it is your competition, and of course you don't want to send your customers over to the competition, but in most cases there is some way of collaborating and working together, where they can be both your customers. That's something that if the business lends itself to that, then that's always the best way, I think, than just looking at the competition. I think that can be a bit soul destroying sometimes if you think about it because then you've got the mindset of your potential is limited because there are other people competing with you. And I don't think anybody's potential is limited by that. So, but that's another topic.
Yeah. No, I agree. It's competition is healthy,
Absolutely.
just really just put
Yeah.
simply. And it really comes down to a lot of it's going to come down to whatever your industry is.
Yeah.
Obviously if your industry is more competitive
Mm,
and where, it's an either or kind of thing, then that's going to
yeah.
be harder to take that advice and work with somebody. Um,
Yeah.
but but also, because you don't want to risk the chance of losing a potential customer.
Mm,
But in most cases, in most businesses that I've found, they're you can create some kind of symbiotic relationship between you and
yeah.
another business, a business company
Mm,
in your industry,
absolutely.
and then
Yeah.
find a way that you both can help. Like think about the restaurant business.
Mm,
You don't only eat one type of food, and so
exactly. Yeah.
so it's things like that, and other businesses that are related to your business,
Mm,
not necessarily, like if you do books, maybe not necessarily another author, but you can work with a library,
mm,
that kind of thing. And so
yeah.
obviously the library has other people in there, the customers there that
Yeah.
could be interested in your book, might not be, but they
Yeah.
could be. But by getting familiar with them, then you at least open yourself and your business up
Mm,
to finding more customers, which is the whole point.
absolutely. Absolutely. Totally agree. Yeah. I think it's important to collaborate as much as possible with customers, competitors, anybody that is in the same line of business, really. Yeah.
Right, right. And also keep in mind that, like I was saying earlier, how your business is going to grow as time, progresses, because we all grow as human beings. But um, if you don't communicate, or at least, you know, keep an eye on your competition,
Mm,
your industry, and things like that, then you risk the chance of not growing. And not growing is definitely a negative, because you know we always want to get more customer base, but
mm,
if you as a business are being stagnant, you have a
mm,
really good
yeah.
chance of losing customers, which
Yeah.
is the opposite of what we really want.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a double-edged sword. You need to make sure that you do stay top of mind, where people know about you and know about your business and know that you exist, but also not being in this tunnel where you don't see your competition, you don't see what
Yeah.
else is out there, because that's how, like I said, that's how we grow.
And I think if you're in that mindset where you are not seeing your competition and you're just concentrating on the way things have always been and you carry on that way, sometimes you get stuck. And I think that's why a lot of companies can fail, because they're not learning from the competition. I mean, if your competitor is outselling you, excuse me, and they're taking all your customers or whatever, however you want to see it, they're doing a lot better than you, then there's a reason for that. And unless you look at that reason and you analyze, well, why are they selling so much? Why are my customers going to them? If you don't do that, you'll never find out, and your business will just go down. But if you can look at your competition and see what are they doing that's right, that's attracting these people, and you start improving your own company, then that is helpful. I think sometimes, especially companies that have been running for a very long time, they get stuck in their ways. They
Mhm.
they try and do things the way they've always done them. I know a lot of shops where I used to live that used to do that, and they didn't move with the times, and they lose out in the end. So it's always good to keep it fresh, to keep looking at what the competition is doing, what are the more successful businesses doing, and try and emulate that. I'm not saying copy it, but try
Right.
and improve your own business like that. And that's another way to gain customers. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and that's another really good point. Two really good points that you brought up. One is, about not changing your business, not
Yeah.
moving with the times. What I've seen happen many times is a company doing that, where they
Mhm.
stay stagnant, they stay, the way they've always done things,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
they finally do get with the times, if you will. But then because they haven't been doing it for so long, it's such a drastic pivot that they do that the current customer base is just,
Yeah.
it's too much, as opposed to doing it gradually like the industry or the competition had already been doing.
Yeah.
But the other thing is that you'd mentioned, we were talking about competitors, and made me think, one thing that you could find out from your current customer base is, who else do you go to, for this service, so who your direct competition is, and then you can find out why, why do you, what do you like about them, what are they doing that's, I haven't heard of them, even if you had heard of them, make it seem like you haven't, I've never heard of them before, what do you love about them so much? So again, you can learn, it's kind of like what we do when it comes to books, is we'll read our competition's reviews.
Absolutely. That's
Well,
such a good point. I do
yeah,
that all the time,
yeah,
and
we'll look at,
especially the bad ones. You can
I was
learn
gonna say,
so much.
we'll look at the good ones to see what they're doing right, but we'll also look at the bad ones to see what they're
Yeah.
doing wrong.
Yeah.
And if you can find a way to do something similar in your industry, and you find out what your competition is doing wrong that people don't like, that's that leg up that you can have on them to get more customers. So if you find out that, I was going to use the restaurant business because I used to do that many years ago. But if you find out that, your competition, they close at 2 p.m., and, some people get a late lunch, or, then that one thing you should do is, one, have extended hours, which you may already have. But what you can do is, you can, if you do any kind of promotional work, point out the fact that you're open later, take the negative of another company without smashing the other company, but taking the negative that people are finding with the competition and using that as a positive to your business. And many times it won't even take you doing anything differently to your current business model. It's just bringing attention to the fact that you're different, bringing attention to the fact that yours is already enhancing what the competition isn't.
Yeah. Because if you don't know that, if you don't know what they're doing differently, you wouldn't know what to point out about your business that stands out that the others aren't doing. So it's really important to know what your competition is doing, what they're doing well, but also what they're not doing so well, so that you can offer that side, which you might be doing well anyway, and you just didn't know that the others didn't do that. So it's, it's all about, the more knowledge you have, the better. I think that's just inform yourself, be really open to new ideas as well, and be open to criticism as well, because I think if you can take criticism on board, and of course you're always going to get criticism that's unfounded and maybe not, but if you're open-minded and you try and see why that person has that point of view, and sometimes there's a grain of truth in it, and you can then sort it out, do something better, improve on something. It just gives you so much information that you can work with, rather than just keep doing the same old thing over and over again. I think that's important as well. So negativity is not always bad.
Yeah, it's and I think the main thing is, it really goes back to what we were saying early on, which is, communicate with your current customer base, whether that means, if you have a physical business, you can physically talk to them. If it's a digital business, then you can do it through, like I said, like newsletters, or, emails, or whatever way you have to communicate with them, and learn from them. Again, they'll feel like, don't bombard them with questions, doing it subtly, and a little at a time. You don't have to learn everything in one conversation. Again, this is an ongoing business. This is a long-term strategy, but learning things like that can absolutely, learning about your competitors, learning about, like I said, learning earlier, we talked about, what places they, maybe what social media platforms they use, because obviously that information you can use directly, because if you find out that, that your customer base most of them are on Facebook, let's say, well, then maybe you want to run Facebook ad to your business. I mean, that's a simple answer on how to get more customers, is obviously running ads. But whether it's on Google or any others or any social media platform, they all pretty much have some kind of ads that you can run.
Absolutely. And also maybe offering products that people want. Not everybody is catering for everybody. There
Mhm.
are certain things that are still missing in the market. And it's the same with books as well. If we're coming back to books, I like to look at negative reviews where maybe they're saying something, oh, this and this is missing. And then you can create a totally different book, but incorporate what was missing in the other one. So
Mhm.
it's all about creating the right products as well. That can create more customers for you as well. If you're offering a range of something and you can broaden that range, that's another way to gain more customers as well.
Right.
But it's like you said earlier as well, look after your existing ones. So if creating more products is going to have a negative impact on your existing products, then obviously don't do that. But every business is different, and you just have to analyze what's going on in each one, really.
Yeah. I agree. Could not agree more.
Yeah, I think we always agree.
This has been another great mastermind, Nuria. Once again, a huge thank you to all our listeners and viewers who came to tag along. If you enjoyed today's mastermind, please consider following or subscribing to the podcast, and maybe even leave us a review and let us know what you thought about it. Again, it would really mean the world to us. Until next time, I'm Keith Wheeler.
And I'm Nuria Colby.
Have a good one.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining the Mastermind today. Be sure to follow the podcast on your platform of choice and tell a friend who would enjoy it too. Your support is greatly appreciated. This has been the Masterminding Success Podcast.